You already know what I'm getting ready to say. Again, it's an older film, but two things. One, it's horror slasher, which already makes it automatically less popular than almost any other movie from any other genre. And two, it's a remake, and different generations of people, especially the last generation, will unanimously agree that originals are 99%, 99 to 100% better than remakes. So this right here is a remake of a horror slasher. The original, Friday the 13th, that came out in 1980. This is 2009 here. I will say that the ratings and reviews for this movie are kind of all over the place. I see really low ratings from some sources, and I see high ratings from others. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 25. No surprise there. Internet Movie Database, 55. And among Google users, we have an average of 73 to 76%. Looking a lot better there. Now, is this a remake or a sequel? Is what some are asking right here. It is a reimagining of the first four films, according to Screen Rant. Now, some people who criticized the movie said they thought it was useless, waste of time. I feel that it was essentially the same as most of the other movies, just, a new set of actors and actresses, and it just looks better because of the time. I mean, obviously, any movie that came out after 2000 looks better than, at face value, just looking at the resolution and the picture of it, better than anything that came out in the 80s or 70s or even like the 90s. So I think that it was just as good as, if not better than, some of the older ones. Now, me personally, I would give the movie I give it about an 8 or 9 because, it's kind of a biased opinion since I'm a huge fan of the Friday the 13th series, just like I'm a fan of a lot of other slasher series that I talk about, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Scream. Now, I'm looking on Common Sense Media right here, and this one caught my attention, and I thought this was a little bit funny. So, a parent on here by the name of Nate, he has a 7-year-old son. Right here, his review is 2 out of 5 stars. He says, too much sex, cursing, and gore. Okay, but my little Timmy would die if he saw this. Way too much sex, cursing, and blood and gore. Me and my wife were watching this, and my 7-year-old son and daughter walked in, and 4 nights later, they were complaining about nightmares about a scary man with a mask and a scary sword. So, not for kids. Okay, so, I get it. The kids, you might be watching something, kids walk in, they see something, it's whatever. But, again, this is a remake. This is 2009. So, anybody who's watching that should know, at least anybody who's a horror slasher fan should know that, okay, well, looking back at the original Jason movies, looking at the first 8, 9, 10 movies they did, including the Freddy vs. Jason, you know how gory they were. You know how bloody they were. You know how much they cursed in there. You knew that there were sex scenes. The teenagers, young adults, whatever, they were in the tent, in the forest. They were stripping and having sex and all that. I said, this is a remake of that. So that means it's going to contain a similar element, which means they're doing the same thing, but just with a different set of actors and actresses. So, yeah, I would say that this is probably not a movie that anybody below like 17 or 18 should see. Definitely for sure not 16. I'll admit I was between 14 and 16 when I first started really watching these movies. The Halloween remake is what really got me hooked. But let's check out some of the other ones. And by the way, let's do synopsis right quick. Against the advice of locals and police, Clay scurs the eerie woods surrounding Crystal Lake for his missing sister. But the rotting cabins of an abandoned summer camp are not the only things he finds. Hockey mask killer Jason Voorhees lies in wait for a chance to use his razor-sharp machete on Clay and the group of college students who have come to the forest to party. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Now, check out the 1-star reviews here. Absolutely useless movie. There are certain horror movies that have excellent script writing where the audience is left in suspense as to what will happen. I am hard struck trying to remember when I last watched a movie that was so infuriatingly predictable and yet inconsistent. It's so absolutely stupid that I am forced to write a review and warn everyone else off of it. However, if anyone wants to see a perfect... Okay, I'm not going to finish that one because it gets into sex stuff, and let's try to keep it a little cleaner here. But let's just say that he references how good somebody looks, and he says, well, if you want to see a good-looking person, then here's that person right there. But again, that's the PG version of it, so let's keep it at that. First of all, I want to comment on that one right there, because you're not forced to write a review and warn everybody else of it. Number one, it's just a movie. So if you didn't like it, if you're watching this movie, and this movie is what, an hour and 40 minutes long. So if you've been watching it for the first 60 minutes, 60, 70 minutes, then if you just hated it that much and you stopped, you could have stopped watching the movie. That's what a lot of us do. Same thing with shows, whatnot, what have you. So you didn't have to write the review on it. But of course, one person on here found that helpful, as it shows that one person liked that. Another person says, the original Friday the 13th movie is good, but this movie was horrible. I went to a drive-in with my boyfriend and his family, and literally the entire movie is a sex scene. They're killed while having sex. The girls have no shirt on literally the whole movie and are killed naked on purpose. This is the kind of movie that just isn't good, so they had to put naked women in it to make people watch it. The plot of the original movie is good, but not this one. If you're going to watch this with your family or with your boyfriend, just don't. The sex scenes are very loud and very graphic and never stop throughout the entire movie until the very end. I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I mean, there's plenty of scenes in the movie that are not that. And again, there's a number of people who probably are paying attention to that, and some who look at that and say, oh, there's that, but their mind is primarily focused on the suspense. Jason Voorhees is there at Crystal Lake, who's there to kill anybody who sets foot there. And remember, that's who Jason is. He doesn't have specific targets. I mean, he was killed at Crystal Lake. So anybody who sets foot there, he's going to kill him. So there was one comment I saw, Hunter, that said it didn't really feel like Friday the 13th. You know, it's funny about that because there's a couple other Friday the 13th movies I've watched that didn't really feel so Friday the 13th-ish, like the 8th movie where he goes to Manhattan, or the 10th movie where he was in outer space. The 10th movie actually felt more like Star Trek, Star Wars. It's basically Jason meets the cast of Star Wars, Star Trek. And it's like, that one actually felt a lot less Friday the 13th than this one right here. At least this one was kept at Crystal Lake. But again, they were entertaining though, because again, biased opinion, I think all the Jason movies are good. Now, get to the more positive reviews. For the first Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees movie that I've seen, this did not disappoint me at all. Ever since I got this Blu-ray, I was always super excited and hyped to watch this, and it definitely lived up to the hype. This is a thrilling and chilling experience, entertaining, hugely enjoyable, and the kills were absolutely perfect. Jason Voorhees rocked. He was very aggravated in this, and he certainly got his revenge. He is in my top 3 characters, killers for certain. All of his weapons were super cool, and he could use them extremely well. He is very clever. I love the front cover poster for this movie. His mask is very spine-chilling and very detailed and awesome. I just knew from the minute that I got this, I was going to enjoy it a lot, and I did for sure. I'll give that one a like, helpful there. A great interpretation of Jason's return. So, again, there's a lot of remakes out there that are really great, including this one, and then there's a lot of remakes of certain stuff that, you know, is half and half or not so enjoyable. But again, I'll give this movie, I think I can give this one a 9. I'll give a 9 to this one. So, the movie is available to watch on Max. The budget for the movie was $19 million. The box office was almost $93 million. So they did almost 5 times their budget, which is amazing for a remake. So check it out on Max. I think it's worth watching, and you tell me what you think of it.